Good afternoon, everyone. The Sacramento City Council will please come to order. Would the clerk please call the roll to establish a quorum?
Thank you. Mayor Pro Tem Ashby will be absent this afternoon. Councilmember Laloe?
Here.
Councilmember Harris?
Here.
Councilmember Valenzuela?
Here.
Vice Mayor Chenier?
Here.
Councilmember Guerra?
Here.
Councilmember Jennings?
Here.
Councilmember Vang?
Here.
And Mayor Steinberg.
I am here. Good afternoon, everyone. Would all who can please rise? I'm going to ask Deputy Chief of Police Kathy Lester if she would lead us, please, in the Pledge of Allegiance. Chief, are you on?
I am. I'm working with the new system here. Let me start my video. Okay, I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America
And to the republic
for which it stands, one nation,
Under
under God, indivisible,
with
with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you so
Sorry, I
much.
think I cut out there, Mayor.
No, that's all right. Thank you. You never know when the mayor's going to call on you.
Thank you.
Very good. Thank you. Good afternoon to everyone. Welcome to a very important day. I think in the modern history of our city, we've got a big agenda this afternoon and tonight. And let us get started with the consent calendar. Are there items that members would like pulled off, discussed separately? I know that I just have a question on consent item number 11. So I don't need to pull it. I just have a question. Anybody else?
Yes, Mayor.
Yes, please, Councilmember Valenzuela.
I also have a question on item 3. I don't need to pull it. I'd just like to ask the question.
Okay, very good.
Mayor,
Anybody else?
I'd like to make a comment on item 4.
On item 4, okay. Jeff Harris, anybody else?
Same here, Mr. Mayor. Item number 4, I just like to make some comments.
Okay, very good. Anybody else? Okay, why don't I begin since I raised my hand first or something like that? On item 11, I understand the need for this item. Obviously, the charter officers and executive staff are trying to manage numerous requests from the council member. I just want to clarify one thing for the record regarding the role of the mayor in the city, and that is the city charter authorizes the mayor to place any item on the agenda. And of course, a change in our rules of procedure here does not supersede the city charter. Is that correct, Madam City Attorney?
That's correct, Mayor.
Okay, thank you. Item number 3, Councilmember Valenzuela.
Thank you, Mayor. I just wanted to request the city manager if we could bring this item back for discussion on some of the recommendations. Like, I'm fine approving the report back, but I think the Ethics Commission is raising some serious questions about staffing and authority that really warrant some discussion. I've heard from members in the community that are interested in making sure the Ethics Commission is obviously functioning well and having what they need. So I was wondering if the city manager could bring back a future item to discuss their needs. Now, don't want to derail this report back, but think it's worth more consideration.
Councilmember Valenzuela, I can work with the city clerk, whose item this is, to figure out how we can bring this back. Maybe we can touch base offline to determine how you'd like to see this come back.
Okay, great. Thank you. Thank you, Mayor.
And Councilmember Valenzuela, this is Mindy Cuppy, City Clerk, and I'm staff to that commission. We're working on a process with PNPE right now for them to evaluate commissions, and I do intend on bringing this entire report as our first example to go through PNPE, to present to PNPE and get feedback on their accomplishments, and then a work plan for the upcoming year.
That's perfect, Mindy. That sounds like a great next step. I appreciate that. Thank you.
All right, thank you very, very much. Let's now move on to item 4. I had Councilmember Harris Laloe. It is Councilmember Laloe's district. Would you mind, Councilman Harris, if Councilmember Laloe went first?
I am fine with him taking the lead. Yeah.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. Item number 4 is regarding the Roberts family development. I am happy to support Item number 4, which is a request by the Roberts Family Development Center to assist them on completing their much needed building renovation. I have visited, in fact, I had the pleasure of having you visit this renovation that I think it adds so much to our community, especially our kids. The Roberts Family Development has been extremely involved in our community, in particular in their dealings with our children. It's actually probably one of the, if not the one organization that they've been on full speed on assisting with our youth in this community. I have personally seen their operation and their staff, and they're dealing with our kids. I mean, it's major kudos to their staff. These are wonderful groups of people that are dedicated to the youth. They also been literally one of the few organizations in my district that have provided services to the families as far as, during the pandemic with food distribution, tests and vaccination. So they're on a good track. As I said, their in-person Freedom School services have benefited the youth in both in my district, District 2, and if I'm not mistaken, District 4 as well. As an investment by our city in the form of a grant at this time sends the message that we're supporting organizations that are all in assisting our youth and our community. With that said, on item number 4, I do understand that this funding will go through Sierra Health Foundation, which was something that was decided before I took the role. So before I took this seat. So I would like to ask our city manager that once this moves forward, that my office gets a copy of all the canceled checks from Sierra Health that would fulfill all the subs that have completed the work that was necessary for this renovation of this facility. That if we can get those canceled checks within 45 days after the funding is issued to Sierra Health, that's my only ask about number 4.
Councilmember Malloy, we absolutely can do that. We can provide the full council with the paper trail of the disbursements coming out of Sierra Health on behalf of RFDC.
I would greatly appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
My request. Thank you.
Councilmember Lowy, thank you for leading on this as well, and for finding a way to shepherd this important item through. Councilmember Harris.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. I agree with everything that Sean said. Roberts Family Development Center has employees that do amazing work in the community. I have visited several of their installations and been very impressed with the services that they offer our youth. But, we are fiscal managers here at the city, and that is our function. So it pays to pay attention to how we disperse money. In this situation, we're all familiar with what happened with RFDC in the state. Don't want to go back over that. What concerns me here is that the money is well spent, and I think that Councilmember Laloy will keep a good eye on this. I want to make it clear that the source of the funding for this, it's a bit ironic. It was the $500,000 that was allocated to be mitigation money for the practices at the railroad center that we started to do services for the homeless on Railroad Avenue, which was in D3, but it was mitigation money in case there were impacts to the community in D2 along Del Paso. In fact, the Railroad Triage Center and the attendant North Sacramento Impact Team caused crime stats to go down in D2 and cleanliness to go up in D2 during the operations of the Railroad Center. But that, I want council members to understand that that is where this money is coming from. It never did get used for mitigation because there was no need for mitigation. The Railroad Center basically did no harm to D2. In fact, made, I think, some improvements. I wanted to make that clear. I do have one question for our city auditor. Since Sierra Health is now the fiscal manager for the RFDC, is any of this money going to be used as a fee towards Sierra Health, or is it all going to the subcontractors who have already performed work on the Roberts Family Development Center?
This is Jorge Seguera, Sacramento City Auditor. In regards to the agreement that was brokered between the Sierra Health Foundation and the Roberts Family Development Center, it is my understanding that that arrangement resulted in an agreement to pay the Sierra Health Foundation up to $10,000 per month for Sierra Health Foundation to serve as the fiscal agent. And so that's the extent, I think, of the financial exchange associated with what we reviewed during our audit of the Roberts Family Development Center. I'm not aware of whether there's any additional agreements that have been brokered between when we last reviewed them and now that would change that arrangement. But if that's something that's of interest that you would like us to look into, we can do some additional work there to confirm that.
Well, I would ask Council Member Laloy, as he watches the progress of this, payment to the Roberts Family Development Center. Sean, I would just ask that you keep an eye on that and make sure that the money is used for the intended purpose, because that is our job. And then we'll move on from there. And City Clerk, if you would just note that I will abstain on this particular item on the consent calendar. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councilmember. I just want to comment because, I've been in the middle of this one as well. And you are right, Councilmember Harris, we are fiscal stewards. And it is important that we always demonstrate that to the public, which is why we engaged the Sierra Health Foundation as a proper fiduciary. And at the same time, I think we all recognize that Daryl and Tina Roberts and their organization have done God's work over many decades to serve the families and young people in North Sacramento and throughout other parts of the city. And that this conclusion and this action today says that we are always going to put the kids and the families first. And we're doing it in a way that I think properly works out our other concerns. And so Daryl and Tina, even with the problems that the organization has had, and again, we don't want to look backwards, they have always served the kids and the families. And that's what I continue to focus on, and we found the right way to do it. So thank you.
Mr. Mayor, I just to add to that, I completely agree with you. In this short time, I have seen their work in action, and I don't believe that this money should have any administrational fee, considering that, as our city auditor just indicated, that there is that approximately $10,000 that has been set aside per month for Sierra Health to do keep the paperwork and financing straightened out. So I'd be very surprised. In fact, I will kind of frown up if any of this money is used for any administrational fee. It should be dedicated to all the subs that have done a wonderful job, and I'm very excited for Mr. Roberts. And I'm hoping he continue this great job that he's doing with the kids. So I want to thank him and his staff publicly for the wonderful job that they're doing for the kids. Thank you.
I do see other members' hands up on the consent calendar.
Mayor, can Leslie Fritchie chime in here? Just she was working through the agreement, then she can
Yeah,
clarify.
why don't we hear Ms. Ritchie? Then I got council members Guetta, Jennings, and Vang up on the dais. Okay, go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor and council members and City Manager. I just wanted to provide a point of clarification that all of the funds in the grant agreement, the $450,000, are going directly for the construction. There's no admin fee associated with the disbursement of those funds or any funds that are flowing to Sierra Health as a result of this agreement. They are all going to the contractors who have performed the work on the job.
Okay, that is a good clarification for the record here in terms of that previous question by Councilmember Harris. All right, thank you, Ms. Ritchie. Councilman Guerra.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. I actually wanted to go back to item 11. So if other
I'm
council
sorry.
members.
Oh, go ahead.
But I do want to thank Leslie for clarifying those questions and her work on this issue. But I'll wait till I think Councilmember Jennings and Bang want to speak on this item. So
Okay.
But thank you, Leslie, for that, and also Councilmember Laloe for your work on this effort.
Go. Okay, thank you, Councilmember Jennings.
Thank you, Mayor. I appreciate Leslie Frishy for clarifying that as well. I had a conversation earlier today with Daryl and Tina Roberts in relationship to the money that we were giving them, and they assured me that every single dollar of this money goes directly to construction and to the contractors. So I think when we give Councilmember Laloe the paperwork that he's asking for, he will see that that is the whole case. I also know in my many years of working with Daryl Roberts, which is more than 25 years, I know that their work together is primarily to benefit the kids and their families. And in fact, their addition that they're adding on right now will allow them to serve even more. And that's a very important thing to note, is that this allows them to do more. So I'm glad to see Councilmember Laloe getting additional benefits in his district that allow us to serve kids not only during the school year, but during the summertime and when the kids are on vacation as well. So I feel very satisfied in my conversation with Daryl and Tina Roberts. What they're doing now is going to benefit Sacramento for many years to come. And they've done the right thing in bringing Sierra Health Foundation to be their fiscal agent to avoid getting into some of the issues that have happened in the past. And so I don't want to ever hold anything against someone once they've made the proper changes to avoid going into that in the future. I want us to be supportive and not hold grudges as we can. So I do support this 150%.
Thank you very much, Councilmember Vang.
Yeah, I just had some comments and one question. First thing is the Roberts Community Center does incredible work with young scholars. I've had an opportunity over the years to also see the work firsthand, front and center, of the great work that they're doing to support our families. They do serve some of our families in District 8 as well, and so they are spread out throughout the city. Really great to see this investment happening in District 2. And so congratulations, Councilmember Shauna Lowley. I think this is really great. My question was more around process. I wasn't aware that these funds in particular came from mitigation fee. And so just wanted to know, as a city, how do I know as a councilwoman what funding is available? Didn't know that we had that $500,000 or so plus set aside, and wanted to know what is actually just the process. I support this item moving forward, but just wanted a better understanding of actually city processes when it comes to funding like this.
Well, go ahead, Howard. You want to?
Well, I was just going to add that this item was before the city council before you took office, obviously.
I see.
And so it was part of the Economic Development Fund as part of the mitigation as well for District 2 specifically. And so at the request of the council member, we move forward with this request.
Okay, sounds great. Thanks, Howard. Just wanted to, because I wasn't aware, and I appreciate Councilmember Harris sharing that, because I wasn't aware that those dollars came from the mitigation fee. Thank you so much.
I mean, it was general fund money or Measure U, one of the two. It was, and it was part of, it was part of the big picture effort to locate the first triage center in Northeast Sacramento. It was actually in Councilmember Harris's district for Railroad Avenue. And It was part of a larger and longer discussion. And I just would say parenthetically, tonight we're going to take up a big set of issues. Within 2 weeks, we're going to begin discussing and debating our opportunity to invest $112 million in ARP funds to invest positively. Not that the homeless mitigation plan is not positive, because it is, but to invest affirmatively in a number of our commercial corridors, for example, in our neighborhoods. And so this was maybe a start.
Thanks, Mayor.
Thank you. All right, I got back to Councilmember Gett on item 11, and then we're going to take a vote.
Great, thank you, Mr. Mayor. A question here for either the city manager or the mayor, whoever on this, but I just want to confirm that that this change in our policies and procedures won't circumvent the process we have for referral of items to committees. I can see a slippery slope where all of a sudden we start creating a council log, and the issue that that could happen is that when a new item comes up to council, it really doesn't give the public the opportunity to weigh in like they can in one of our committees when there are new issues that have to be worked out, particularly when they have to compete against maybe 20, 30 different items. So I want to make sure that this doesn't circumvent that process that allows us to really dive into some of the issues that get brought forth.
Councilmember Garrett, I think it actually helps, because as these items come forward towards the end of our meetings, they will get agendized for the following meeting for the council to have an actual discussion, because it will be agendized appropriately. And in that follow-up meeting, the council can decide to refer any of the items to any number of the committees. So this just clarifies it for staff so that it's clear.
But I'd like to see that the log also come with the recommendation of the potential committee or appropriate location that should be coming.
Well, then I would ask the council, when they want to put on the log, to make that recommendation for us to include for the following meeting. Whoever the council member is making the recommendation.
I just pick up on Councilmember Guetta's comment. This is an appropriate management and efficiency tool. I understand being on your end that 9 things come at you at once, and what's the priority? And as the council weighed in, Councilmember Carr used to talk about this a lot as well. And so I think we should try this, but and Councilmember Guetta is right. I don't think we want to get into a situation where we're spending a lot of council time having a discussion about what we should discuss. It could end up being a little bit inefficient and ineffective, depending on how we do it. I mean, and so let's just watch it, and let's try to help. The city manager always talks to me, and I know all of you, about, hey, council, what is your priority? And if it's your priority or your priorities, and let's make those the priorities, and then 6 other things get thrown at them. And I think this may help address that. It's just we want to maintain our mutual flexibility as well in the way that we work with one another, and don't want to use council time debating a lot of debate about whether we should actually be debating something.
I appreciate that, Mayor, and I think that there will be exceptions that come up that are unforeseen, and so we can deal with those on a case by case. But by and large, it's exactly what you described: is that if there's an item that comes up on council ideas and comments, and if the council member wanting to bring this forward before the whole council would like to see it to go to, in the case of Councilman Garrow, to a law and ledge or budget and audit or any other committee, if they make that recommendation, we can have a complete discussion at the following meeting, because it will have been agendized appropriately, which has also been one of the criticisms about some of the items that come before the council, where we cannot elaborate, or the council member making the request cannot elaborate, and therefore the public has no opportunity to weigh in.
And again, I just say the charter does allow the mayor to agendize, just like the city manager, anything that he or she thinks is appropriate to agendize. So, okay.
Well, I'll go ahead and move the consent calendar, also with the direction that that when an item is requested on this log, that the council member identify the appropriate subcommittee that it needs to go to.
Thank you.
Because if not, we will get into the debate about what we should and shouldn't discuss.
Right. Thank you.
I'll second that.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Councilmember Harris has indicated an abstention on item 4, so let's note that for the record as we call the roll on the consent calendar.
And Mr. Mayor, I have 4 callers to make public comment.
We got the public calling. Sorry.
Thank you.
Go ahead.
First is Daryl Roberts.
Darren and Tina Roberts, thank you very, very much. We appreciate your support.
Thank you, Mr. Roberts. Next speaker is Top Story Corey.
Good day to you. I'm a citizen of Sacramento, and I am against the funding of the Roberts Family Development Center. This is very political in a way, so I just want to be careful of my words. I didn't get a chance to email you guys, but I would like to ask you, did you look, is this any of this money being paid, the $450,000 that is owed by the state that was, you know, we're talking fiscal responsibility about a month ago, and now you're willing to fund someone? No creditor in their life would give someone some more money that owes that much money, especially taxpayer dollars. How is this fiscally responsible? No one is, no one is big enough to fail. If you can't handle it, even with a fiscal agent. So I ask you, is the money going to be paid back with this money? And what are you really sending a message saying, no matter what you do, I'll go ahead and give you the money anyway? Secondly, I'm going to read this letter that was sent to Mr. Roberts and the whole committee. And at the time, I think Chet's wife was on the board, and we still have not received an answer back. So I came into this thing through the lens of TV, and we just got Emmy nominated for Stockton on My Mind with the HBO project, and I'm doing a crime show. So this is the letter that was sent. Crime Pays is a TV show and production that supports the community by providing a platform for citizens to give information of a crime and receive compensation when someone is arrested and still remains anonymous. It pains us that we are in a situation where we must discuss this issue again. Based on limited conversation Daryl Roberts had with Corey D. Jackson and Greg Topo Padilla in regards to Robert Family Development Center collection of the Jalan J.J. Clavo reward monies, 2015, the time is now to resolve this ordeal once and for all. The ledger you submitted by RFDC does not give anyone sufficient information to accurately account for the funds given to RFDC on behalf of capturing and convicting the murderer.
Thank you for your comments. Your time is complete. Will you make your final comment, please?
I'll send you guys this email, but I ask you, hey, we need to table this. We need to discuss this.
Thank you for your comments. Next speaker is Rebecca Sandoval.
Yes, I am also calling on item number 4. And I am pleased to hear there's going to be assurance that efforts will be made to avoid fiscal problems in the past. And I allude to the diverted funds that, the allegation that diverted funds were used for personal use and overcharging of migrant farm housing centers in the San Joaquin Valley. And that lawsuit settlement stated that Roberts agreed to pay the state $100,000 and make 40 monthly payments of $7,400. I am hopeful these payments have been settled and that this does not happen again, and that there is great fiscal accounting. With that said, I also want to say, echo what others have said. I appreciate what Mr. Roberts and the Development Center has done for the community, but do it in a way where there's transparency, there's accountability, and especially when it comes from some of the most underappreciated people in our entire community, those that feed us. I've worked on housing issues with the farm workers. The situation there is terrible, and I hope that this does not occur again. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Next speaker is a phone call, and the last 4 digits of the phone number is 5111. Mr. Mayor, it appears they've hung up. You have no more callers on the consent calendar.
Right, thank you very much. Again, now we've got a motion and a second. Again, noting Councilmember Harris's abstention. Let's call the roll.
Thank you. Mayor Pro Tem Ashby is absent. Councilmember Laloe?
Aye.
Councilmember Harris?
Aye.
Councilmember Valenzuela?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Chenier?
Aye.
Councilmember Guerra?
Aye.
Councilmember Jennings?
Aye.
Councilmember Vang?
Yes.
And Mayor Steinberg?
Yes, that passes unanimously. All right, let's move on to item 12 and 13, please, if we could take them together.
Good afternoon, Mayor Steinberg and members of the City Council. I am Peter Lemos, Code and Housing Enforcement Chief for your Community Development Department. The items before you are the Neighborhood Code Compliance and Housing in Dangerous Buildings case fees and penalties for special assessments and or personal obligations. And yes, I would like to present items 12 and 13 concurrently at this time. The Housing in Dangerous Buildings case fee staff report lists a amended total of 58 properties with a total of $55,283.53 of unpaid fees scheduled for liens against the properties. 3 properties listed in Exhibit A of the staff report have been set up on payment plans or have paid in full, and identified items number 1 and 2, 47, 48, and number 82. Item 13, the Community Development Department Administrative Penalties and Neighborhood Code Compliance Case Fees Staff Report lists an amended total of 199 properties with a sum of $419,013.98 of unpaid fees and penalties scheduled for special assessment and or personal obligations against the properties. 8 properties listed in Exhibit A of the staff report have been removed and the lines reported are identified as numbers 16 through 19, 25 through 26, 34, 91, 96 through 98, 243, 284 through 285, and 287. Staff recommends at this time that City Council adopt the 2 resolutions separately as amended to allow the city to collect the unpaid fees by placing special assessments, levies, and or personal obligations upon the properties. And that concludes my presentation.
Thank you very much. Is there public testimony on the 2 items?
I have no public testimony on 13 or 14, or pardon me,
Okay.
12 or 13.
Okay, do we have members?
Mayor, I would open and close the public hearing on number 12 and move the staff recommendation.
Okay, there's a second on that, I assume. Councilmember Jennings, I think I heard second that. Please call the roll.
Mayor Pro Tem Ashby is absent. Councilmember Laloe?
Aye.
Councilmember Harris?
Aye.
Councilmember Valenzuela?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Chenier?
Aye.
Councilmember Guerra?
Aye.
Councilmember Jennings?
Aye.
Councilmember Vang?
Yes.
And Mayor Steinberg?
Yes. Yes. Okay, that passes unanimously. Let's go to the next item. Can I get a motion in a second? Councilmember Harris again?
Happy to open and close the public hearing and move staff recommendation.
Okay, excellent. Have a second.
Jennings is happy to second it again.
Thank you very much, Councilmember Jennings. Let's call the roll.
Thank you. Mayor Pro Tem Ashby is absent. Councilmember Laloe?
Aye.
Councilmember Harris?
Aye.
Councilmember Valenzuela?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Chenier?
Aye.
Councilmember Guerra?
Aye.
Councilmember Jennings?
Aye.
Councilmember Vang?
Yes.
And Mayor Steinberg?
Yes. All right, that passes unanimously. Let's get to the only but very important discussion item of the afternoon, and that is the update from Bridget Dean, our Director of the Department of Community Response. Happy birthday, Bridget, by the way.
Thank you, Mayor. I appreciate that.
You know, you can have the day off tomorrow.
All right, I'll take it.
Okay, very good. Well, you know, we have all been so thrilled to see the beginnings of what you have helped build here in Sacramento, not only on the 911 diversion issue, but how you've really taken the reins on the homeless outreach and the establishment of Safe Ground. And obviously, Your success and the success of your department is incredibly important to this city, the future of this city, and all the items that we are going to be discussing tonight. So this is a pretty good preview, if you will, of what we're going to talk about in more depth tonight. Take it away and let us know how you're doing, what you need, and where you're going.
Great. And I'm actually going to show a few slides just so I can share that with you.
Okay.
And then I'll make sure you all get these after today. Give me 1 second. So Mayor and Council, thank you very much. I am Bridget Dean, your Director of the Department of Community Response. And this is an update and overview, if you will, of our Department of Community Response, where we are standing as of today. So I want to remind everybody of the timeline. On July 1st, the City Council directed the City Manager to create the Department of Community Response, which at that time was referred to as Office of Community Response. And the goal of that was to provide an alternative response model in public safety that effectively transfers calls that do not require law enforcement or fire response to alternative first responders from the Department of Community Response. The goal was to focus on the need of mental health services, substance use disorders, youth in crisis, and residents experiencing homelessness. And at that time, there was a 2-year timeline provided to be fully operational. On September 2020, I was also provided the Homeless Services Division and Office of Violence Prevention was added to the Department of Community Response. And as of July 1st, we were fully funded. So just again, another reminder for us all what the goals of DCR were and are is a systemic shift in our public safety model, providing alternative resources and response to those in crisis or in need of assistance. Key partner in our city's first response model. We do work collaboratively with police, fire, and other emergency response models and programs. And our goal is to connect individuals to community-based services and providers. And we can be primary response and or provide follow-up or support as needed. Our goal is to establish collaborative teams that reflect the communities that we serve, use trauma-informed interventions, work from culturally competent framework, and engage in first language and respect lived experience. And then also we need to support community-based organizations and create space for community-led intervention. So I get asked frequently what this looks like. And so this is a quick snapshot, obviously not all of the details, but the major ones. Under the Department of Community Response, we have what we call the Office of Community Outreach. That is our outreach teams that we go out on the streets and do the work. Right now, we're currently doing that with 16 staff, and that includes city staff that we are FTEs that the city is paying, and also community partners. Those community partners, our key partner in this at this time is Hope Cooperative. I will say on that number of 16 staff that we just offered 3 positions in the last couple of days, and we are interviewing upwards of 20 individuals in the next 2 weeks to continue to hire. Our Office of Homeless Services is our Homeless Services Manager, Nick Galling, and then we have our admin analysts and support staff. And this number is also important to notice that there's 6 staff doing the work there. And when I show you the work they do, I think you will be extremely impressed at their efforts. And then our Office of Violence Prevention, led by Dr. Nicole Clavo, has herself and 1 admin analyst to support her work. So when I talk about additional programs and DCR, I cannot ignore or not mention the staff. Our staff has taken on a big load. As you all know, the timeline has been short. The existence of this department has been 1 year, a little over 1 year. And to be honest with you, we were not fully staffed even in homeless services until just about 4 or 5 weeks ago. So I just want to stress that this job cannot be done without the staff. I respect my staff immensely. And whether you are believe in everything we're doing in DCR or don't, I just want to recognize that my staff works hard and that we couldn't do what we do without them. So Office of Homeless Services, they actually oversee and facilitate 55 current projects and provider contracts. Those include our safe grounds that we have now, some of our shelters, food services to the hotels and other programs, the whole person care, Mayor, that pathways that you've brought on and into the city, the motel voucher program, and then they continually do citywide coordination of services with our providers. They also are the collaborative a seat at the table, often with our county providers. They work with our hospitals closely, and they also work with area-wide homeless programs regionally, Yolo County, Placer County, and other areas. Additionally, our Office of Violence Prevention is currently overseeing and facilitates 10 contracts related to violence prevention. They collaborate with city departments, community agencies, and organizations. They support outreach and programming citywide with our community stakeholders. So I'm going to roll into where we are right now with DCR, and primarily this is related to what we're doing in the street and the outreach model. So I just want to point that out. So our first response teams were actually deployed in March of 2021. That was the first time that we actually had teams fully out. Those teams are consisting of one neighborhood resource coordinator, or NRC, and a Hope Cooperative staff who ride in the vehicles with them. Though currently we have 3 teams citywide, Monday through Friday, and we are scheduling them to be in the north, central, and south areas. They use 311 as their primary directive of where they need to be. And so using the 311 model, we've been able to really start drilling down and responding to the community requests as best we can related to homelessness, encampments, and other concerns. We also have one rover who does special projects. He has worked with many of the different departments across the city, whether it's code enforcement, public works, other, and his job is to take on some of the bigger tasks and projects that we need to have a few more hands in. And then ForensicClean, again, just want to give a big thank you to ForensicClean, Aaron, Bert, and his teams. They have consistently stepped up and done the work for us, and they have been a great asset. They also are now primarily using 311 as their response process. We have one licensed clinical social worker from Hope Cooperative, and she works very closely with us and responds to those higher need calls related to mental health, especially in our motel programs, but also across the city, our Safe Ground, some of our nonprofits and other agencies. And then I just want to mention that we work very closely currently with the City Motel Voucher Program. We oversee that program in DCR. We also have Hope Cooperative, which has our voucher phone line. They staff that for us 24/7. Hope Cooperative has also provided a housing coordinator and case management teams that are working specifically to get folks up and out of the hotels. And then Step Up Housing. Step Up is another group that we have been lucky enough to work with. They've done a lot of work down in Los Angeles, and they provided us a coordinator in case management who works primarily in one of our hotels. And then also want to recognize City of Refuge. They work very closely for us in our hotels where we have our women and children, and they are a huge asset for us. And then couldn't do the work, frankly, without our advocacy and our citywide boots on the ground. We have a lot of individuals in this community are out there every day working, especially in our encampments. And that has been essential for us to get where we need to be, to fill in some of the gaps when we're unable to get there, and to really work with us to build better relationships with a lot of the folks that they have relationships with. And then we also established an advisory panel about 3 months ago, where we meet every other Friday with several of our nonprofit and advocate leaders on different issues related to homelessness. And that is so that we can get some direction, but also share where we are going and have transparency for the process. So our homeless response model is basically, as I shared, coming through 311 at this point. We get a request related to unsheltered individuals. Sometimes there's welfare checks. We get majority of our calls are about encampment concerns. And it's important to note that we respond to non-criminal concerns. And I state that because 311 has also been an immensely important partner for us. Ivan, who leads that team, has been fantastic. And what we've been able to do is establish a way for us to communicate each other. So if we come upon an encampment where there's concern or safety issues, we can get it to the appropriate department to respond to, whether that might be police if it's an extreme safety issue. If it's 5150, we may need to reach out to others to help and support us. And then vice versa, if they go out, they're able to hand it off to DCR so that it's not taking up police time or other time if it's not necessary. And then our trash, the cleanups across the city, ForensicClean, just want to note that they are right now averaging 150 cleanups a week using 311, and that does not include the larger cleanups that we contract with them to do for DOU and other departments across the city. So the DCR response is basically, this is what we do when we get out there. We connect with the individual in the encampment or whatever location we are asked to respond to. We work to build rapport. This is really essential. If you're disenfranchised and removed from the system and you don't have a lot of trust, it's important to build that trust. So we really work hard on that. We meet the individual where they are at. And what that means is we do a quick needs assessment, and then we determine what the next best step is for them. And I want to stress that because a lot of times individuals have a belief what should happen for somebody who's experiencing homeless or mental health crisis, but in reality, they have the right to drive where they need that to go. And we can only serve a person in that moment in need at that time sometimes. We will provide resources and ongoing support. We will access our safe grounds, our motel vouchers. We work with our county partners and we get them as connected as possible at the time. We will follow up with the reporting party, the individual who's contacted 311 or has contacted us, or maybe one of you directly. And so we will try to reach out to them and explain what we've done and where we are going with that current location or the situation there. And then we work really hard to resolve issues collaboratively with our other city departments, our community-based organizations, the county, Caltrans, in our community whenever it's viable. In the end, a true community response is going to be a big piece of us having success across the city. So this is a quick, just a picture out of 311 for you. But what I want to point out here is that this is our homeless camps to date. If you can see in January 2021, we were getting roughly a little over 500 calls. In the last few months, it's gone up extensively. And as of July 2021, we're sitting at almost 1.3 thousand calls into the 311 system that DCR and homelessness related issues are being asked to respond to, whether that's cleanup or calls for service, and often both. So we respond to the calls as they are entered in by our 311 dispatchers, but also the community using the app. So we often go, and there could be other circumstances that we need to address, but just want to point out that the calls on 311 has grown substantially in the last couple of months. The other thing I want to point out is the amazing work of our partners, especially right now in our motels, but across the city with the case management. As I stated earlier, Hope Cooperative teams ride with us and provide us that essential outreach and lived experience that some of our staff from Hope Cooperative have that really is essential in making those connections to people. And overall, since we started our outreach, we have served with case management, meaning more than one contact or consistent contact with 1,271 individuals. We've been able to assist 407 families citywide. We currently have 390 individuals in our motels, Mayor, and that number is consistent. We are at a point where we are full on a regular basis. We have now released 182 emergency housing vouchers, which are in progress. We've been able to permanently house 22 individuals, and we've had over 70 landlord meetings, which have resulted in 9 additional rental units for us to identify to help our individuals come up and out of the hotels, primarily where we put our housing coordination and focus it at. So finally, what I want to talk about is just where we are going in DCR, so everybody's aware. Our next phase, we've completed phase 1. Our next phase is August 1st through December 31st. We will continue to hire staff and fund our community-based partners. We need to expand our response team citywide, and we need to increase our days and hours that we are available. We need to expand our 311 response. That will allow us to reduce response times again and move forward to more cleanups citywide and other response models. We need to fund our community-based organizations to support referrals from first responders citywide, and also continue to provide services in the communities that they are based in. This is an essential piece, is to make sure we're supporting our organizations in the communities that they work in every day. And then we will also begin establishing regular meetings with our community leaders, advocacy, and residents, and we will be creating a 3-year plan for DCR that will be driven by a community support model. And then phase 3, which will be December 31st through June 30th. We will continue to do many of the things I just discussed in phase 2, but we also hope to gain access to 911 or implement a separate response number for DCR. The reality is we're seeing 311 being successful, and I'm not sure if it'll stay there, but I do want to make the note to all of you that as we continue to grow and respond, we may need to have other access. We will continue to work with, and I think we are moving forward with a strong collaboration with the county. And that's, of course, to provide our additional resources and partner on response more frequently. And then our goal is to start bringing forward a 3-year plan strategy and an implementation timeframe. And again, I'll come back in a few months and update you on where we are with all of that. So with that, Mayor, I hope that that's a quick overview for you all. And I do just want to say I appreciate the support we've gotten. There's a lot of mixed feelings, I know, sometimes about DCR. What are we doing? Where are we at? Sometimes folks, frankly, are very supportive of what we're doing and sometimes not. And that comes with the territory, and I get that. But I just want you to know that we are committed to supporting the city and the council and their decisions and their structure and where they are going. So with that, Mayor, I'm open to any questions or comments.
Very good. Thank you. I'm going to save my questions and comments and hear from my colleagues. Do we have public testimony, Madam Clerk?
Yes, I have two people that would like to speak on the item. Are you ready
Why
for
don't we
them?
hear from the public, then we'll then we'll hear from the members.
Thank you. The first is Daphne Harris.
Good morning, Council. And Bridget, I just want to give you kudos for what your organization has been doing and what your department has been doing. There is a noticeable difference when you call 311 concerning homelessness issues. There is a point of contact, and we have been able to support those who are in need. I would like to propose to the city council members to think about providing a permanent capital expenditure for Bridget. I would like to see a facility established at 2812 Meadowview or at 3100 Meadowview, which would be a 24/7 facility that would have sports and also educational support for youth. And it would be a central hub for families to actually receive services, and Bridget and her organizations to collaborate within a facility where they can actually have services transferred between one another. It would be a one-stop shop for those who are going through homelessness and moving them into housing. So it's something that I would like to speak with city council members. I know Maya Bay is our support. I would like to speak with her about that, along with Supervisor Kennedy. And I would like to get the mayor's support on getting something like that put together where we have a capital expenditure that would actually support Bridget Dean's projects. We also have financial support from the community and also backings to build a facility within the next 18 months. And I think it goes in line with what Bridget was speaking to you about on a 3-year plan for her projects. Thank you so much, and I look forward to working and speaking with you all.
Thank you for your comments. Next speaker is Daniel Savala.
Good afternoon, everybody. What an exciting presentation. Bridget, thank you very much. Daniel Savala, the Executive Director for the Del Paso Boulevard Business Improvement District here in North Sacramento. Just quick comments I want to make to you all. A great presentation. I would have loved to have it on part of the staff report. Maybe moving forward, we also include some data as far as location of response. I think we have to do a better job long-term of really showing the public, particularly business owners around Del Paso and neighbors, of kind of where this department's at and the work that they're doing, whether it's proactive or if it's 100% 311 related. We have a lot of 311 fatigue here in District 2, particularly when it comes to street lights that are out or illegal dumping. So you have a lot of neighbors and folks who are just kind of over the 311 thing. But I think if we really show them some evidence that 311 works, and you can see responses, and that'll help encourage people to use the system a little more. But also long-term, as we looked at tonight's vote and we looked at a master seating plan and where sites are going to be, it also brings comfort to folks like myself to know that you have this office that could perhaps be dedicated to areas or parts of the city where you have priority sites, where you have existing shelter options, so that we have a full-on response, and the city has done a tremendous amount of work. And I just think we owe it to folks in Sacramento to do a better job of cataloging and showing some real benefits or a metric for success on how we're spending this money and where these resources are going. They should be distributed equally. So thank you all very much, and see you tonight.
Thank you, Daniel.
I have no more public comments.
Okay, thank you. Let's turn it to the members. Madam Clerk, can you help me? Who was up first in the queue, please?
Councilmember Laloe.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Bridget, thank you. I don't think is enough, right? The work that you're doing is, I tell you what, I wouldn't take that job. And I know I won't even last for a few minutes. So I'm very grateful for what you and your team have been able to do for our community. With that said, I do have some questions. Again, these are just, I cannot say enough about great things that they're taking place. So general questions, I want to be very clear about that. So you mentioned that you are now fully staffed and officially deployed in March of 2021.
Not fully staffed. We are upgrading staff. I am very low on staffing, frankly, and so it's been a process. And I do need to say our HR staff have been amazing, but it is a process, and we are working diligently to bring in lived experience and some other type of backgrounds so that we can best serve the community. So we will continue to staff up, but we are not there yet.
Can you tell me at what level of staffing you feel a little bit more comfortable?
I would be comfortable if I had probably 24 FTEs and 24 peers or others in my vehicles, frankly. But that's our goal. I'm shooting for 50 and this next phase. So that's what we're going for.
Okay. And is there a metric as far as what is the average time to from a call that's made and for your team to report to the site?
There is, and it's not quick, right? We're using 311, so it depends on, frankly, I've gotten to the point with 311 council member where we are able to respond. We get it real time now, which is good. We just recently been able to do that. So if it's called in at that point and we're actually out and about and we're checking our 311, we can actually see that call pop up right away. But on average, I'm going to be honest with you, we also inherited a lot of calls that had been there for some time. And so we are responding to some calls 3 days away, sometimes 5, and sometimes it might be 7 or 8 days away. And so one of the things we try really hard is to remind our community members that if they feel like it's an extreme emergency, that they want somebody to be checked on, and it happens now. We're also Monday through Friday. So we say you might need to call 911 and get somebody out there sooner. So I just want to stress that.
Thank you very much for your response and frankness. You mentioned that you're overseeing 55 homeless services providers and service contracts. Is there some kind of an Excel sheet on how much has been deployed and what the kind of work that has been achieved?
Yep. And a lot of those, those were part of Homeless Services Division prior. The city for many years has done that homeless services provision. For instance, the North 5th Street Shelter, right? That's a homeless services contract. The Safe Grounds currently, and a lot of the other work we're doing across the city that's pretty established and that many of you depend on is actually through homeless services. So yes, I can get that Excel spreadsheet to you.
Great, I appreciate it. And again, I'm just going to use my district to have the talking points. One of my motels in my district is now pretty much 100% dedicated to the unsheltered community, and it's had some major effects and impacts on the businesses that are right adjacent to this. Is there a plan for your department to work with the businesses and kind of approach them to see what are some of the needs or challenges that they're facing when we provide services for unsheltered and it has direct effect on the business?
So that's a great question. I will be very honest with you. I was not aware that there were some serious issues around there that you share. So I would love to hear from the business owners and maybe get some of that information. Additionally, we are doing weekly meetings right now with our motel owners, and they are very willing to work with us. And so I will have Nick Galling, my homeless services manager, set up a meeting with the businesses around that motel and the motel owners, and we can start working towards solution because I really am a big believer in making sure that's part of the community and supportive of that. So I will work with them. If you could get me the information, I will gladly follow up.
I definitely will. I know you get tons of emails throughout the day. So I'm one of those emails that sometimes I think you forgot all about me, so no hard feelings.
Yeah, well, yeah, I get a few hundred a day, so I do my best.
I totally understand that. From where you're sitting right now and this investment that we've made, how are you kind of evaluating it or quantifying it as far as the investments that we've made so far?
Are you talking and refer to DCR response or homeless services or what specifically? Homeless services? We just recently brought on Nick Galling, who's our homeless service manager. And that's one of the things we're going to start drilling down is I'm a very data-driven person. And I think data should drive evidence-based, should be showing what we're doing and where the gaps are. So one of the things we've done is we've realigned most of our contracts. For instance, if you're a homeless service provider and we write a contract with you, you must have homeless management information system as part of your process. We are now doing site visits. We do regular site visits to our locations. Some of that wasn't being done on a regular basis prior. And we are really working hard to make sure that the invoices and the programming that they say and agree to us to do is actually being done. I am not afraid to have the tough discussions with our providers. And ultimately, if the city and taxpayers are funding these programs, they must serve the people we are saying we are going to serve, and we must serve people well and right.
And like, how do we, the council and the community, best help you realistically, not ideologically, realistically, to fulfill the job that you've been tasked with?
Well, I think we have some great support in the community, but I think a lot of people, they use a lot of, they're good at, I'll say, keyboard warrior, but they're not always stepping up and helping us out. And I think that that's a big piece. I'm all about partnership and collaboration. I'm always open, as I said, to the discussion. And so I'm hoping that our community will reach out more. The other thing I would encourage our community members to do if they want to donate or provide services is to work with our local nonprofits. And, if you want to donate clothing, maybe not drop it off at an encampment, but maybe get it to one of our providers to get it to the right person and find ways to really mitigate, for instance, some of our excess property we see, right? So there's lots of ways I think the community can reach out. We are going to be we're currently in the process. I've hired our public information officer and media specialist, and we're going to start putting some information out, including donation sites and things like that. And then we'll also start including how community can support us and how we can support them.
And as far as on the ground helping you, what percentage of our advocates or activists are actually on the ground helping the cause as far as, what you accomplish?
So we currently have our advisory panel is around 25 different organizations that work with us regularly. I have to say we have some strong advocacy support, and they are doing the work. And frankly, for those who like to just be more of the voice and not necessarily the work, I challenge them to show up and suit up for us so we can actually do it together. And so I would say it's probably, I've been extremely pleasantly surprised, but frankly, having done advocacy work myself early on in my career, we have a lot of groups out there that just need the support. And that's one of the other goals I have is to kind of break that silo and start making them more of our collaborative partner. And that's by supporting their causes. We have a lot of groups, frankly, council member that go out and support with water in out of their own funding. And, there's ways we can support that and bring them closer into the partnership with the city.
Great. Again, I truly appreciate everything you and your team are doing. And on behalf of my district and my residents, again, thank you so much. And I do agree with you that sometimes we have individuals or organizations that on Tuesdays have loud voices, but when it comes to Wednesday, it's hard to find them. So again, I appreciate your frankness and hitting the points. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Valenzuela.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, Bridget, for a really informative presentation. I know a lot of folks are really excited to see the progress you've made and just the partnerships. And I just also want to recognize and thank you for your focus on community partnerships. There are so many people that are doing so much in our community. When we stood up Safe Ground and needed to canvass all of those WX corridors, they were there on Sundays and Saturdays at 9 in the morning. When we needed help at the warming center, they were there until 3 in the morning, 6 in the morning, helping out. And like, it's just incredible that you're tapping into that energy. And really helping bring them in to the change. Because I know a lot of folks, that's really what they've wanted, is to be a partner with the city, and you're making that happen, which is really exciting. I want to focus for a second on calls for service, because I've gotten a lot of confusion from the community, and I understand why, because they're hearing we're going to have this awesome system stood up to respond to non-criminal calls. And so they're like, cool, who do I call right now? I've got someone in mental health crisis down the street. And I get those calls sometimes daily, many a week, saying, who do I call? Who do I call? And so I appreciate the timeline you're given, which is really like more like phase 3 is when you're hoping that system will be online, and so that we can update the community as to when to expect that. And in the meantime, I know coordination across the current departments who respond to these calls, whether it's police, whether it's fire, whether it's code, is a constant Rubik's Cube of making sure that you all are in contact and communication and coordination as closely as you can. So I had asked Assistant City Manager Conlon if Chief Han could be on this call, as well as Peter Lemos. I don't know if I see Chief Han. Is he on the call today?
I don't think so.
I don't think he's on the call, but Deputy Chief Lester is on the call.
Oh, okay. Thank you. I appreciate Deputy Chief when you're able to come in. And I realized I probably should have also asked Chief Loesch to be available. So sorry to catch you off there, Chief. But I'm hoping maybe you and Peter and Deputy Chief Lester could talk a little bit just about coordination from your department's end and what you're seeing, and just sort of what we could maybe be doing as a council to effectively communicate to our constituents, like who to call in different circumstances until DCR is at that phase 3 point. So I don't know. I see you, Deputy Chief Lester, first on the screen if you want to start off.
Yeah, it really is kind of a work in progress, because we're trying to do this transition of certain calls for service. So there's been a number of internal meetings. I can tell you, just speaking for the police department, our communications manager, Latanya McDaniel, has worked very closely with Bridget to talk about really like kind of the behind the scenes mechanisms of how those calls will get referred over. And I think really just to, you're spot on when you're talking about like, how do we communicate that to the community and who do people call? And unfortunately, I don't have a really great answer for you right now, because we're still working through a lot of those details. We know where we want to get, but it's this transition of trying to stand up a whole new department and establish those protocols. What I can tell you is that we work with Bridget and her team daily, and we try and have this cooperative relationship with the folks that she has working for her department. And if there's a call for service that the police really are not the best provider on, we work with her individually to handle complaints from the community, complaints that come through the council member's office, and then also, questions and complaints that come from the community through our communication center. So what I can tell you is that it's a work in progress, and we've got a number of city departments that are working on trying to figure out the best way to communicate and what the next steps are moving forward.
I'll add on to Deputy Chief Lester's comments here. I think that a pretty clear line we can draw is that if it's a public safety issue, call 911 and let the dispatch and the comm center determine whether or not an officer needs to be dispatched or not. Because last thing we want to have happen is somebody who requires a police response and they call, they're on hold with 311, and God forbid something happened. Because there is that coordination that Deputy Chief Lester mentioned between the police department and DCR. And right now, as you heard from DCR and from our team, they're having a hard time keeping up with just the non-emergency 311 calls. And that's why we're trying to figure out what that coordination looks like. And we have some metrics too. And I think Vice Mayor Chenier had asked about, report back on how many of these calls are coming in and how many DCR is taking versus, the police. That's still very much a work in progress.
Yeah, and I guess I hope that we're, and I know you are being thoughtful about like when we hand over more caseload to DCR, because obviously, like, I mean, Bridget's done a phenomenal amount of work, but you know, I guess I'm hearing different things from businesses and constituents. So I want to get like super specific and drill down. If a crime is committed, regardless of who commits it, is police still responding?
Yes.
Okay. Yes. And then when it comes to the non-criminal encampment related calls, and then so I guess then turning to Chief Loesch, like in sort of thinking through what fire's role in this. Obviously, if there's a mental health call or there's a medical call, I'm not sure if he's still on to chime in about how they're looking at that.
I think he is on the call. Give me one second.
Yeah, I think I saw him.
Are you on here, Gary?
I feel bad. I didn't give him a heads up, so he might not be
Chief,
ready.
it looks like Chief Loesch is on. Chris Conlon, Assistant City Manager of Public Safety. And certainly, Chief, if you come on while I'm talking, jump on in there. But very similar to what you just heard from Deputy Chief Lester, if a citizen is calling in, a resident is calling in, and they have a medical emergency or obviously a fire emergency, that goes to dispatch. Now, it's a little different with fire because fire runs out of a joint dispatch center that not only sends out our fire, but also sends out across the county, you know, to include Metro Fire, Consumus, all of that. So they are intertwined a little bit more so than you would see the police response. So it is very important, especially in any kind of a medical emergency, that the citizen calls 911 and that 911 will then dispatch whatever is allowed. At this point, because we are very early on in DCR's response capability, you will very likely see the ambulance come or the fire trucks come, and pretty unlikely at this point, since these are medical emergencies you can't really mess around with, you're not going to see anybody from DCR yet. What we hope to do is in the future, we've experimented a couple of times with mental health units and other things in fire where we can combine that capability, and you might see in the future a response that comes in the form of a sort of a step down ambulance with somebody from both fire and somebody, an emergency medical technician like a paramedic, and somebody from Bridget's team, so that we can respond appropriately if it's a mental health crisis, if it's perhaps somebody that's just in need of services that don't require an emergency transport or don't require the same level of emergency response that would normally be associated with 911.
Chief Loesch, hi. Anything you want to add? Sorry to catch you off. I should have given you a heads up.
No. That's absolutely fine. No, I just want to reiterate what Chris said. One of the issues that Bridget can have is getting into the 911 system here in the county. And by what Chris just explained, and we actually had a conversation about it today, that we have a possibility of bringing these mental health units in, alternative locations to take, these particular cases, where I'm going to be able to join them with a staff member from the fire department, along with somebody from Bridget Dean, which once we have a staff member in a unit, I'll be able to get them in my 911 system. And it'll give us, a much greater chance to handle these cases. So it'll definitely be a partnership between Bridget's team and my team. So
that's really exciting to hear, Chief. Thank you. And I'm glad to hear the coordination and just the thoughtfulness, because I think the worst thing is when a constituent calls you and says something happened and I called and like nobody came, and to be like, oh, like we don't want that to happen to whatever degree we can. So I really appreciate how thoughtful your three departments are being about this. And Peter, I see you on here. Thank you. I just wanted to check in about code. I get a lot of emails about like, we're sending these code complaints and nobody's coming, but like, we're still not moving people because there's still a pandemic happening, and B, case law that says we can't move people unless we have a place for them to go. So I'm just curious from your end how you're coordinating with Bridget. And I know a couple of meetings ago, I had asked you and Bridget and others about guidance around what can and can't be moved, like around vehicles and tents and when things work, and just curious how that's going as well.
There's a tremendous amount of communication going between our departments, Public Works, Department of Community Response, PD. We take in the complaints through 311, and then we're triaging it on the back end, determining whether it's a public or private property, state or federal property? Are the vehicles or the camps occupied or not? And so there's a lot of work being done on the backside. So yes, we're still following the CDC guidelines of occupied vehicles, but we're not just closing the case and walking away. We do try to make contact. We let DCR know that there's a person there in need. We're working with their teams also. They're letting them know, just clean up the areas. So that brings in Public Works to, if they can separate their trash and things like that, they're cleaning it up. On private property, working with both the property owner, DCR, and our own officers to address those. And we are trying to get back to the concerned parties to let them know, we are doing something. We are making contact, so we are trying to make it visible and show that we're responding. Probably the vehicle cases are the ones that we're the furthest behind on. And some of those are occupied, but then overall we have average about 2,300 active inoperable vehicles on public right-of-way cases right now.
Wow.
So those we were trying to get to within 24 to 48 hours. We're about 6 to 10 days right now on response to those, and that's working. We're calling in overtime on Saturdays, working extra each day, but the complaints are coming in just as fast as we are addressing. But answer your question, we are working daily on the backside with communicating with DCR and Public Works, and there's collaboration, and there's working the bugs out of the whole system.
Yeah. Well, and I just thank you all for responding. I wanted to also just illuminate for the community just how complex this shift is going to be, and just really applaud you all for working as closely as you are together. And honestly, if you get this alternative 911 real-time response up by the end of the year, Bridget, like, you're going to get a prize from somebody, because that would be an amazing amount of work to do, all of you, in such a short amount of time. So just want to thank you for that, and just encourage again that if we could start putting out more public-facing documents about who you call, what are the rules, I think that would just be really helpful, because we could be sharing that out to folks and really help us answer questions that I know we're all getting every day about why isn't this moving, and what can we do. So I don't know, Bridget, if you have anything you want to add, but that was it for my questions, and thank you all for indulging that.
Thank you, Council Member. Vice Mayor Chenier.
Thank you, Mayor. Just a couple questions and comments. So Bridget, first of all, thank you for your work. I know that there's probably pluses and minuses starting something from scratch. You get to build it, but you also don't have that much of a foundation to build on. So it makes it much more difficult. So much appreciation, and happy birthday as well. Could you talk a little bit more? Well, first of all, I want to talk and follow up on some of the comments on the calls and the call volume. And I don't know, this might be for Deputy Chief Lester or the city manager. So from the graph that you showed, it was a pretty steady increase month to month, and 1,300 calls in July. Have we seen any kind of corresponding decrease in calls going to the police?
Yeah, I think and Deputy Chief Lester can respond to this as well, but the PD has designated a majority of homeless calls, if they're non-criminal, to go towards DCR. So I think that is part of the uptick you're seeing in the number. So I think that shows some of the collaborative response that they're providing, which is, they're taking police out of some of those calls. I think she'd have to answer specifically. I don't know if it's actually impacting severely the number of calls that they're responding to. Kathy, are you available?
Yeah, and I would expect that it's a little bit early for that, but Deputy Chief Lester, is that something you can comment on?
Yeah, and I would concur it probably is a little bit too early to really do a good comparison of the data. What we're also finding are that we have a number of joint calls where there's a PD portion, but there's also a DCR component. So you've got this joint response where PD will respond and refer portions of the call to DCR for some follow-ups. We're finding that to be true also. But I do not have the data to compare and show a significant decrease in calls for service.
We don't have the data, or we haven't seen it yet, or it just hasn't happened yet?
Well, partially we don't have the data because DCR is really so new and so small at this point. I think we could pull it, but I'm just not sure what it would show at this point.
Okay. No, thank you. I appreciate that. So just a request, and however this flows down, but if we can get kind of an ongoing reporting, maybe this is the city manager working with both DCR and the police, of how those, I'm just thinking of an X and Y axis and looking how the graph might look. And hopefully we have one that's at least steady and one that's, we know that DCR is going to increase every month because as they take on more calls. So I think that's going to be important. It's going to be important next year as we do our budgeting. And I know, Howard, this sounds like a broken record, but I'm going to kind of keep playing it as we get information on it. So thank you, Deputy Chief, appreciate it. Bridget, can you talk a little bit more about the 3-year plan and how that's going to come about? I know you've got a whole bunch of things on your plate. And I also want to say, even though you were talking about sometimes 2, 3, 4, even 8 days, it's much quicker than it's been in the past. And your responsiveness is really much appreciated. So maybe talk a little bit about how the 3-year plan is going to be developed and what we're going to see.
So the part of the discussion around the 3-year plan was as we initiated DCR, there was a 2-year window. And the reality is, like many of our business owners and others, hiring up and doing some of those other things, of course, are taking a little more time. But more importantly, this has to be a true community response department. And I think for me, and for those I've been working with in our advocacy and our nonprofits and even a lot of our community members who are fully engaged, it's the idea of having them have the voice as well as where this needs to go. So whether we're working with youth and families, Jay, or others, right? What's important to them? What do they feel the response should be? And then how do we really stand that up? And so this is something just we've come to agreement as we've watched the process in the past year of a real strong push for an alternative response initially. And then just, we're seeing some of that reduce a little bit. It's the idea of how do we really create the big picture plan for DCR to really create the systemic change. And so the work that Lindy's doing, the work that the Mental Health Youth Board that you've established is doing, all of those are going to be key parts. So the plan for us is going to be starting out by getting all the voices in there first, and then just slowly building it to make sure that we're responding to the needs that the community feels need to be responded to. I will say we are having our first established meeting next week, and then we'll start releasing that information on a regular basis. The one thing we've all agreed on is it's going to be completely transparent because, again, to have that vote.
And that will include needed resources, budget, staffing.
Yes, the full picture, the big picture of everything. What does it look like? How many, how do we really support our community-based organizations? How do we support the community itself? What do we need to make sure that there's longevity in that and also success?
And how, so obviously tonight we're going to take some major steps, I'm assuming. How does that layer into your thinking to put together a plan? Because it's a whole ball game starting tomorrow morning, right?
Well, yeah, I think, after the meeting tonight, if we move forward with the idea of safe ground and the master siting plan, clearly there's going to be a need and probably a different response required for a lot of those spaces and those individuals. So for me, it really will be a big piece of that 3-year plan is, do we need a specific unit or specialized units, for lack of a better word, in DCR that just do the homeless population or unsheltered populations, right? Are they going to have that unique special training that is best served for those individuals? And then also, expanding throughout the city so we're available across the city as we do this. Because I think, and by that, I mean, one of the callers earlier mentioned the space to be in. The reality is, where do we need to be? Do I need to have staffing on site at some of these locations? How do we best support the citywide? So yeah, I think it's going to be part of the game change. But I also want to stress that I think DCR, and that's the purpose of the 3-year plan. Homelessness is obviously our priority, as it should be in our community right now. But
No,
I also
can I piggyback, Bridget?
Sure.
Vice Mayor. So should the council approve the master siting plan tonight, is my intent to come back the following week with what an implementation schedule looks like. And that's really going to drive the work that Bridget does. And there's going to be some things within DCR that are going to be put on hold, in favor of implementing this master siting plan. We just need to make sure that the council's all on board on what gets approved, and we will come back again with a clear timeline on what we feel is going to be doable in rolling out, some of the various options for all the sites being identified tonight.
No, I think that's great, Mr. City Manager. I mean, and I hope we have this discussion tonight as well, because, we're not going to have 20 sites pop up tomorrow and all of a sudden we've got capacity. This is going to be a long-term deal with capacity building being the center of it for Bridget's department, I think. We need to talk about budget. We need to talk about sequencing. We need to talk about kind of the range of units within each of these things and how all those pieces get put together. Because I think that what we've heard in the community, and again, this is talking points for me for tonight as well, but what we've heard is pretty great fear of what may happen because people don't have a good understanding of how it will happen. So I think that's just a priority for us as we have tonight's discussion as well. But thank you for that. I appreciate it. Just one last question for Bridget is, we have multiple players in this, and I know that you are collaborative in nature and that you're trying to bring everyone together. We had, and it was a very good discussion last week. Nick was there visiting the new shelter at WX and Alhambra. SHRA was there. How do you see, and is this part of the 3-year plan, kind of the coordination between your department and the city and SHRA in doing these things? If, for example, SHRA is actually by contract running the shelter, but you have the environment around the shelter, how do you see that unfolding as well?
For me, I just think it goes back to we're a community response department. And so for us, it would be, we would do a lot of the work around the response in that area, support SHRA and the operator of those shelters, as we've done with Meadowview. We work very closely with Meadowview now. And, I think the way it would layer is that we will play the role that we need to play, respecting the fact that those operators are overseeing those shelters and serving the supports. On the same hand, working collaboratively to make sure that if we have access to trainings or other tools that could benefit those running the shelters, we can do that, or food, working to make sure food gets delivered or some of those other resources. But the safety piece, I think, could very much be part of the shelters, and then referral in. I think you'll see DCR be a big piece of making sure the outreach happens in those communities around our shelters and locations and making sure that that safe and clean environment's maintained.
Okay, great. Well, I just very much appreciate what you're doing. You're ramping up probably as quickly as humanly possible. Again, I very much appreciate the responsiveness. We get more calls and letters about this. We send them on, and you get someone out there within a day or two. It means a lot to the community that you're showing up. So thank you very much. Thank you, Mayor. I'm done.
Okay. Thank you. Councilmember Harris, and I got a brief comment that we must go into closed session.
Thank you, Mayor. Bridget, first, I think you're solid gold, and I think that Nick was a really great hire. Very pleased about that. The type of response you do, and this is a question, I assume it will change in character dramatically if we take action tonight and open up more sites in which to navigate people. Safe ground, safe car camping, and then of course housing ultimately. But is that a fair statement that if you had more spaces to navigate to, your work would be more effective?
Absolutely. I think we all know that a lot of our unsheltered community just need that safe space to be, and that ability to be able to say, let's get you to a location to stabilize, get you assessed, and get you services right now instead of waiting and getting you into the process of, becoming sheltered or housed is going to be crucial. And I think DCR will play a very big role in that.
Well, I'm deeply appreciative of that. And I think tonight can be very pivotal. Most of the calls that I get, quite frankly, some are calls about reaching for help for unhoused individuals. More, however, are calls from the community about the impacts of homelessness on business, on private individuals, lack of safety, lack of sanitation. Again, it's my belief that having more places to navigate to are going to alleviate a lot of these problems, correct?
Yes, I do believe that if we have locations for individuals to be directed to get the services, to establish the safe and clean environments, and most importantly for our unsheltered community, to give them a safe space to be so they can start feeling safe in the community and getting the resources that are available are going to be essential. And this goes back to even working with a lot of our different groups on the ground. I think that that ability to provide them with that resource to get individuals they're working with off the street into safe spaces will be immense for our city.
So great. Just a couple more brief comments. I'd like to thank you for your collaboration with Code and with Public Works to deal with some of these impacts of homelessness, because that's the other piece of the puzzle. Certainly we want to situate the homeless population. We also want to clean up our city, and I know that our efforts in that regard are ramping up. One of the concerns that I have, of course, is having the American River Parkway bisect my district and 130 acres burned. We have an awful lot of fires. Do you interface with FD on any of those kinds of cases?
Yeah, we work really closely with the fire department, and we also will do walkthroughs with our fire marshal to ensure that an encampment is safe or other. And as you know, we've worked with various entities in your district and others around just making sure areas can get mowed, critical infrastructure with DOU. We work very closely with all of those. But yes, fire goes out with us on a fairly regular basis, or a DCR with them, I should say.
Okay. Mayor, I'm reading your body language and I see that you want to keep moving here. So I'm going to hold a lot of my comments for this evening.
You got it.
But I do want to say, Bridget, I deeply appreciate you and everybody on your team. Mayor, thank you for your original idea of creating the Department of Community Response, because it's a better way to go. But we'll take it even farther tonight.
We sure will. Thank you, Councilmember Harris. My body language is happy. It's going to be a happy day. Thank you. Councilmember Guerra.
Thank you. Thank you, Bridget. Is there a way that we could create a one-page simple leave or a simple description of the office for when you try to talk to a lot of folks? Sometimes it's a new department. I think it would help us also also our staff communicating with constituents about how they can respond and how the process works. So if it was one simple, much like we do with other departments, leave behind, I think that would be helpful. And then lastly, I want to stress and thank you for the coordination, but to bring all the departments together and really, quarterback all the different agencies, solid waste and code, because it has become, I know, difficult with our office to try to piece together those departments, particularly when we have a complicated situation with both public and private land. Only request is some easy leave behind that we could use when communicating with our neighborhoods and constituents who call in.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Eric. I'm going to get okay, very briefly, and I'm going to save obviously my comments for this evening as well, but I just think several things. I'm a big fan, and Bridget has got the absolute right boots on the ground approach to all these issues, obviously including the homeless problem. But I just want to make two observations as a preview for tonight. We would be mistaken, and I appreciate several things. First of all, number one, whether or not there's a direct correlation between the reduction in police calls and the increased number of calls through DCR, we don't know yet, but certainly the 311 number is pretty encouraging in terms of the numbers of calls coming through 311. And that's a good and great thing. We have to decide whether our community's expectations are not realistic, or whether or not we are going to bring every resource, urgency, and intensity at our disposal to more fundamentally address the social condition out in our community. And I believe it would be a mistake. And I'm encouraged to hear about all the beginnings of collaboration with code enforcement and police and others. That's all good. But we would be mistaken, and I don't think it's our intent, but we would be mistaken if we put the burden of all of this on one department and one person and one leader. Because it's not going to happen that way. When you think about what it's going to take to hire FTEs through, the important civil service process, I'm not diminishing it or meaning what it takes to get through the process, even to perfect contracts. This is not going to be, we are not going to meet the community's expectations if we are handing this off to one great person and one new department and think that's the answer. And I know that's not the way we're thinking, but I just want to put it out there. The second thing, and this relates to Vice Mayor Chenier's, I think, comments and some of the others. So when I brought this forward, remember, this was in the wake of the George Floyd killing. And this was definitely in response to police reform. The idea that we are going to find an alternative to the police responding to everything, even if the call does not involve the allegation of an underlying crime. And that remains the intent. But I think it is fair to say that in the first months that Bridget's efforts have appropriately been directed at the homeless emergency, the unsheltered homeless emergency. And that must continue to be the priority. And if in the short term, it crowds out some of the fundamental infrastructure work around 911 diversion, even though, again, I'm very encouraged by what I'm hearing about 311, then that's the way it has to be, in my opinion. Because tonight, if we make the decision, which I believe we are going to make, I want all hands on deck, Bridget and her department, but the entire city dedicated to providing relief for the thousands of people on the streets and our neighborhoods and business communities. And so this is a matter of triage and priority within the city. And there's no question that the fundamental motivation that led to the creation, ironically, may now need to be secondary, at least in terms of sequence, to the urgency of the moment, which is the homeless crisis. So I look forward to more of that tomorrow. You're off to a great start, but this is about larger capacity here and how we achieve it together as a city to meet the reasonable or unreasonable expectations of the people that we all represent. Let's call it there. And because we do have to move into closed session, and then we want to get to, started at 5 o'clock if we can. Bridget, thank you very, very much. We'll see you tonight. Colleagues, thank you very much. If there's nothing else to come before the city
Mr. Mayor, I
council-
do have one member of the public that would like to speak for matters not on the agenda.
Okay, let's do that. And then we're going to adjourn right away, and we're going to go right into closed session.
Thank you. Phone number, last four digits, 9211. Phone caller with last four digits, 9211, please unmute. Mr. Mayor, it appears they're not unmuting.
Okay.
No more speakers.
All right. Well, thank you very much. They can call back tonight if they would like. Nothing else to come before the council. We are going to adjourn into closed session. Thank you.